Myself, Shweta Shah. I am teaching social science as DGT in Army Public School, Ambala, Kent. Welcome to my new video on Civics Chapter 1 Power Sharing, Class 10. Let us understand today what is power sharing. It means sharing of responsibility and powers among different organs and levels of a government. It is a strategy for resolving disputes of exercising power. Let us check with some two case studies of Belgium and Sri Lanka that what do we achieve if the power sharing is not done appropriately. Let us see the first case, Belgian case. Here we could see a difference in the composition which was very unique. 59% of the people were living in the Flemish region, those who spoke Dutch, and 40% were living in Wallonia and they were speaking French. Brussels, the capital, it was having 80% people who were speaking French and 20% people who were speaking Dutch. But to the contrast, in Brussels, Dutch speaking constituted a majority and in the country, but a minority in the capital. French-speaking minority, rich and powerful. This was resented by Dutch-speaking, very obvious, and which led to the conflicts between the two linguistic groups. So, if we do not accommodate the power appropriately and favor in few, so definitely the other community starts resenting. So, some changes were made in the constitution and accommodation was done. Let us see. Equal representation in the central government was given and in the capital city government as well. Powers were shared between central and state government. Cultural, educational and language associated concerns were dealt by a new kind of a government, that was community government, and it was quite successful just to remove all the linguistic differences within the country. So it was a successful case where the things were done judiciously and power was divided appropriately. Let us see in the other case of Sri Lanka what happens there. This is the country, an island country, where we could see the ethnic composition as Sinhalas constituted 74%. They were both Buddhist and Christians. Others were Christians, Tamils and Sinhalas both. And Tamils 18%, which constituted Indian Tamils, those constituted 5%. Native Tamils, that means those who were the indigenous of that place, Sri Lankan Tamils, constituted 13%. And these total population for Tamils was like Hindus, Muslims and Christians. 3 religions were followed by them. Now let us see what happened there. They followed a policy of majoritarianism. Here the power sharing was done which was not appropriate as it established Sinhala supremacy. Those who spoke Sinhalas were given more and more priorities, more and more preferences. Sinhala as the official language declared. Preferential policies for Sinhala applicants in the government and all the kind of jobs, universities. And they followed Buddhism and wanted this only as an official religion. So here we could see only Sinhalas were being preferred. They were given all the opportunities. They were considered superior. And definitely the other side of the population would feel bad, neglected, ignored and resented. It resulted in a civil war in the country and lasted for so long years. If any country is having a civil war, are now these rich people or linguistically high resolving people, as in case of Sri Lanka, Sinhalas, were they able to send their children to the school? No, because with this civil war, there were usual riots, protests, guerrilla warfares, and curfew like situations in various parts of the countries. So, what happened? Both the majority as well as the minority both could not live peacefully. So, if we want the population to live in harmony, we should not prefer any kind of majoritarianism. That means preferring the policies for the majority kind of population, rather giving appropriate space to all the populated population in our country. Because if the minorities are feeling as ignored, rejected, so definitely they will not let other people live in harmony as well. So, power sharing is of course desirable. It actually avoids conflicts, ensures stability and unity among the population, enhances citizens' participation. What are the reasons for power sharing? First, prudential reasons, which are based on careful calculations of gains and losses. Majority rule over minority. It should be checked. Stability is given. And it avoids resentment and conflicts. Moral, the second kind of reason for power sharing, and it is the very spirit of democracy. That means the existence of democracy lies on the shoulder of appropriate power sharing. It ensures legitimate, responsible, and accountable government. If the government is accountable to all kind of population, like minorities, or the people those who are usually not having a good place in the society, so definitely it will lead to a equable, balanced, and harmonized government. People as a source of power. Definitely, if a representative government is there, it is a source of power and it's a true presentation of a democracy. Now let us check which are the types of power sharing. First, it's the horizontal, which is also called as system of checks and balances. This is legislature, executive, or judiciary, what we have been always learning as the organs of our Indian government. The other type is your vertical, the union, state, and the local. We learn it as the levels of our government. These both kind of things we very prominently find in the Indian structure. Then we see that the power is also shared by social groups as religious, gender, or linguistic. Linguistic we have discussed in the case of Belgium and Sri Lanka. And gender bias we are always discussing, like some policies are being made by the government for Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, these kind of things which create distance and gap among the society, which has to be covered, and power is being shared that way. Then the power being shared among political parties and pressure groups. Definitely coalition governments, they have a say. Trade unions, they also bargain with the government, and the NGOs and the movements. See, for your Chipko movement, the government was not able to do anything about it. If people are adamant and they find it that it is correct, definitely the power is being shared by the people. So what do we find here? That the government should take care of how the power is being divided in the government. Care should be taken while power sharing in a country to accommodate its population's diversities. Once this thing is taken care of, definitely the population and the government will be in harmony. So here ends your chapter 1, Civics, class 10. Thank you.